Hi guys, Dr. Rob Barrington here with some more nutritional advice. I'd like to talk today about plant foods that retain their original plant structures. What do I mean by this? Well, if we look at legumes, if we look at nuts and seeds, and if we look at oats, they are foods that are very minimally processed, and they tend to retain the form that they had when they were part of the plant. And this gives them some very interesting nutritional properties. Now, it's no coincidence that the nutritional properties that these foods share may also contribute to the fact that they're all very effective as weight loss foods. Now, if we look at the structure of these foods, what we see is that the beans, the peas, any of the legumes that are generally in the human diet, they're either dried or they're tinned, but they're in their original form that was formed on the leguminous plants. If we look at oats, the original grain is simply rolled. That's the only processing many oats go through, particularly porridge oats. And if we look at nuts and seeds, they're not processed at all. They're in their original plant form completely. Now this is interesting because that means that the cell structures within those plant foods are still intact, and those cell structures have fibrous cell walls. Now, humans don't possess the digestive enzymes to break down the fibre in plant cell walls. So the only way that we can get the nutrients out of the cells, which is where the nutrients are contained, is to break open the cell walls through chewing. So what happens when we put those foods in our mouth? Well, if the cell walls haven't been broken down previously by cooking and they're still intact, they go into our mouths and we chew the foods, and some of the cells will be ripped open and some of them will remain intact. And what that effectively means is that the nutrients within the cells that remain intact are unavailable for digestion in our gastrointestinal tract until they reach the colon. So this means that the small intestine, where most of the nutrient absorption occurs, many of the cells will simply pass through the small intestine. Now this has implications because when we look at the packets of these foods, there are calories usually given on the packets, and those calories are worked out through a chemical analysis of the foods. However, we're not chemical in the way that we break down the foods. We're biological, and that means that the chemical analysis on the labels of foods is not relevant to human nutrition. If you burn, for example, a peanut, many people have done this in science experiments at school. You burn a peanut, you can heat some water, and you can estimate the calories in that peanut. That's very interesting scientifically, but it has very little nutritional relevance because only the energy within cells that are broken open can be absorbed. So what you get chemically is not often what you get biologically. So we eat these foods, some of the cells aren't broken open and therefore the nutrients aren't available for absorption, and this maybe explains why they're such effective weight loss foods. If we look at nuts and seeds, we look at legumes, we look at oats, they're all effective weight loss foods. They've been shown to benefit weight loss when part of a healthy, high quality diet. And the more of these types of foods that you incorporate into your diet, for example fruits as well, often the cells remain intact when we eat the fruits, many of the vegetables too as well. Now obviously the longer that you cook some of these foods for, the more the cells break down, and so this relates to, for example, tomatoes. Tomatoes are a very good source of lycopene, but the lycopene is very bio-unavailable unless we cook the tomatoes. And what we're effectively doing is breaking open the cells through the cooking process to allow the lycopene to be absorbed. If we eat raw tomatoes, the lycopene is still in the cells. There's still as much lycopene in a raw tomato as there is in a cooked tomato, but it's not bioavailable because we haven't broken down the cells. And it's the same for the energy within the cells as well. The starch and the lipids and the protein within the cells is only available if we can break the cells open to get at it. Now, some of the cells that are intact that pass through the small intestine will go into the colon, and there you have many different types of bacteria, and some of those bacteria are able to break down the fibre in cell walls, and they can extract some of the nutrients. But even that will not completely digest all of the nutrients. And if we look at studies that have measured the excretion of fat, for example, after consumption of nuts or oats, there is a number of studies that have been done on this. We find that there's very high concentrations of the lipids remain in the fecal matter after it's passed through us. So what this indicates is that when we eat nuts, when we eat legumes, when we eat anything that still it retains its original plant structures, we're not actually absorbing all of the nutrients within those foods, which explains why they may cause weight loss. Now, this is quite an important concept because many people think that what they put in their mouth is in their body, and that's not true. Your intestine is an inside-out skin, and it's only the food only becomes part of your body when it's absorbed across the enterocytes. Anything that remains in the gut is still effectively outside of the body. And this is partly highlights the fallacy of calorie counting. Many people believe calorie counting is the way to lose weight. I'm completely against calorie counting. I think it has no place in human nutrition. It doesn't even make logical sense. And when we look at the studies that have been done on these foods that aren't absorbed fully, we can see why. If we use a food table that's been created from a chemical analysis of a food to estimate our calorie intake, and forget that we're biological organisms that only absorb foods that are available to us, and anything that's within a cell is not available for absorption and will simply pass through us, there is a big mismatch between the energy that we have going into our bodies and what we believe we need to burn off. So calorie counting doesn't work for a start because it overestimates the amount of calories. The sums are just wrong. They don't add up. And this is the problem, because you can't incorporate the amount that somebody chews foods or how much they cook the foods into the equation, and therefore the equation will always be wrong, and therefore it doesn't matter what additions you create in your food tables. They will always be based on chemical analysis, and they will never be able to incorporate the variables that there are when we eat these foods. So calorie counting doesn't work, and this is why one of the reasons that calorie counting doesn't work. So this is very important, because what it shows us is that if we want to lose weight, we turn to the weight loss foods. We know that fruits and vegetables cause weight loss. We know that incorporating more oats into the diet causes weight loss. We know that legumes are the king of weight loss foods, and we know that nuts and seeds also have been shown to cause weight loss when added to high quality diets. All of these foods are healthy, high quality foods. They're all in their original plant form, and this gives us a clue as to what should be incorporated into a healthy diet. Minimally processed foods that retain their original plant forms are really what should be the cornerstone of all healthy diets. When we take the wheat grain and we grind it into flour, we're processing it, we cause problems because that's a process that we've not really is not really in tune with our biochemistry, and that causes glycemic problems. And flour is one of the problems with causing high blood sugar levels in the West. Refined white flour, along with sugar, these chemicals really. They're absorbed too quickly, and they cause detrimental effects on blood sugar. If we leave the plant forms, the plant foods as they were originally intended to be eaten, and we base our diets on those whole foods, what we tend to find is that people lose weight because they're the foods that our biochemistry is in tune with, and these are really what we should base our high quality diets on. And if we look at traditional foods, traditional diets around the world, what we find is that people eat very different foods. They may eat high protein diets, they may eat high carbohydrate diets, they may eat high fat diets, but their foods tend to be unprocessed. If we look at these 3 weight loss foods that we introduced at the start of this video, if we look at oats, they're very high carbohydrate food. If we look at nuts and seeds, they're a high fat food. And if we look at legumes, really they're quite high protein. But they all have the same effect, and that's because they all share the common feature of the fact that they're minimally unprocessed and they still retain their original cell structures. So have a look at the foods you're eating today, see which foods fall into this category, and I suggest that if you do want to lose weight, that you try and incorporate more of these unprocessed foods into your diet, as it really is an effective strategy for causing weight loss, and it will also improve your health.